What is the real difference between cheap and very expensive golf clubs? Well, we're going to put that to the test today with wedges, a piece of equipment that you wouldn't really think there'd be a big difference between. So we've got a McGregor 56-degree wedge here, retails about £50, and then a JP Golf wedge here, which retails at $595. What is the difference between them? You could buy 12 of these-ish for just one of these. Is there a big difference? There definitely is with technology, because the JP wedge is absolutely packed with it, and it is extremely impressive. This JP wedge coming in at $595 is very expensive, but the tech behind it is actually quite different to some other stuff. And the main thing that I want to talk about is the camber or curvature that we've got here on this lovely milled sole. You can see here that there is a very, very significant camber or curvature very close to the leading edge, which looks very different to other models that I've tried in the main market, such as Vokey, TaylorMade, things like that. It said with this and the extreme heel and toe relief, you're supposed to get some really positive turf interaction in whatever weather condition. Luckily enough, I've tested this in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and also the best of the lot here in the southeast when it's 4 degrees and absolutely raining every single minute, as it has to be for the last 2 or 3 months. What I've noticed is the turf interaction feels pretty similar in hot weather conditions because it kind of just bounces off it. You do have some various bounce options that you can see with the notches on the hosel here, but in wet weather conditions, it feels very different. The turf interaction feels smooth. It doesn't feel like you're hacking down on it. Very different to the McGregor, which we'll get onto after I hit a few 50-yard chip shots. Ooh. The McGregor wedge, V-foil feel to be exact, is a little bit different, cheaper, not as durable, black finish, which is already worn over the last 6 months or so, and it's just a lot cheaper. The camber, very, very different, a lot sharper of a leading edge, and barely really any tech involved in this. Down at address, it's very different as well. It's more of a game improvement style wedge than anything else, but the times I've used it, it's quite a soft feeling wedge, and it's pretty nice. Is there gonna be a big difference in the actual data? Well, we'll find out. I imagine it's gonna spin a little bit less, but is that a good or a bad thing? Well, for short shots, you want it to spin more, but I was really impressed by this V-foil wedge overall for the testing that I've done, but can it keep up with a 600-pound wedge? Oh, hello. A draw spinning there. Yeah, it works a little bit. Oh, that's nice. It's a good wedge. There's a definite difference in feel in comparison to the JP. This one is certainly a clickier, cheaper feeling wedge, but there's a feel point of view here, and then there's the numbers which we're going to look at too. Okay, again, McGregor wedge is really impressing me here. Doesn't feel as good as the JP, and I would pick the JP straight off 100% because it looks good, it feels good, down at address, confidence, all the kind of mental attributes of a wedge, straight to that. But for 50 quid, I still think this is a steal, and I'll show you why. So, funnily enough, the McGregor wedge was spinning quite a good amount more, by about 500 RPMs there. That's nothing against the JP wedge, because I still do think it is a very good wedge, but just initially, I was spinning the McGregor wedge a little bit more. And I think I was hitting it a little bit out the middle a bit more with the McGregor wedge, because I know with that wedge, if you hit it out of the toe and out of the heel, comparing it to the JP wedge, you're not getting as much relief. You would notice a significant drop in spin rate and things like that. So apart from that, if you're looking at these numbers and saying which one is the most expensive wedge, who knows? But that's just from some initial testing. You can see that the JP wedge launches slightly higher, a little bit less spin, but overall 2 really good wedges at 2 very different sides of the spectrum. The JP wedge is soft, it's forged, through it, it feels a lot nicer, a lot crisper, a lot smoother, whereas a McGregor wedge through it feels a little bit cheaper. I don't think it's as soft, it's as forged, we all know that, and there's a very clear difference in not the data, in the actual sound and feel. Is that worth about a 1,000% increase in price? Probably not, but you can clearly see that the McGregor wedge is targeting a different type of golfer in comparison to the JP wedge. Let's move it up to full swings now and see the difference, because who knows? Let's have a look. Cool, so the JP wedge is my personal favorite for 110 yards or so. You'd expect that because it's more expensive, but it just goes through the turf and even on the mats here a lot nicer. It feels a lot smoother, and I feel very confident with it, as I will hopefully show you. Not bad. Not bad. Face is closed. Feels good though. That was a bit high on the face, but still felt nice. That's the difference here. All across the face, it feels nice. Oh, that was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. Wish that was a lot closer, but that was just a good one. That one too. In the stratosphere. Coming down with snow on it, that one. Good numbers, good spin. Not as high as I thought, but the launch angle was really high. Lovely. So you can see I'm a big fan of it. Spins well. That was a little bit high on the face, that one, but setting those pretty much all out the middle, and we're getting some nice results. The McGregor, a bit different, because as it's more of a game improvement looking club, not as pleasing. Honestly, I'm not as confidence inspired at it, but it still performs really, really well. I've hit this a lot now, it performs well. Yeah, it feels like I'm absolutely, in fact, yeah, I've hit quite a few shots with this McGregor now, and I'm destroying this golf ball. Wish I could hit it like this all the time, because then I'd make a lot more birdies. Spins high though. You can see numbers are pretty similar to the JP. A bit Healy. Yeah, got some spin though. Spin Healy. Yeah. Yep. Good numbers, but very similar to JP. So there is a really interesting conversation here, because I feel like there's two things we're talking about. We're talking about the data here at the GC Quad at Gatwick Golf, which in all honesty is going to be quite similar, but that's not where these two wedges differentiate. It's down to the sound and actual feel, which is a big part of golf. But how big is it? Is it big enough to say this wedge should be £600 compared to a wedge at £50? I'm not quite so sure, and it does appear that these wedges are targeting two very, very different golfers. Not just in performance, but in just the overall looks and the technology and the way they're marketed. So I made a bit of a mistake, and I didn't change which club, but we can still talk about these numbers here, because it looks like, again, the McGregor wedge is spinning a little bit more. Not by too much, but the average with the actual JP wedge was around 10,000 spin. You can see here just at the bottom, I've got 9,874 as an average for the spin. All some really nice shots overall. But when we switch it over to the McGregor, climbing up 10,600 spin, which I think is really interesting there. It looks like the JP wedge is launching a little bit higher, spinning a little bit less, quite similar again to the 50-yard chip shots, but not too much difference. In all honesty, if you looked at those numbers there, from a base level, if you didn't go too into detail, you could almost argue that the McGregor wedge is better. This video isn't just down to the data itself, it's down to how I think it feels in my hands, how it looks, and the overall performance it gives for me on the course too. These wedges are for different people. I've said this already. This wedge is extremely popular, but it's popular for the luxury golfers in the Japanese domestic market. It is an incredible looking wedge. I think the best looking wedge I've ever seen, and that's just in this gold plated finish. There are many options to choose from, and I really am very impressed by it from aesthetics alone. I'm even more impressed by the technology that JP has managed to put into this wedge, because quite a small product, it's got a lot of differing technology. Nowadays, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, Cobra, Titleist, they can say what they want, but they're all very similar to each other. This is slightly different from the curvature to the actual aesthetics of the club. It does separate itself from the rest, but it does that in price itself, and it's pretty non-attainable for a lot of golfers. The McGregor wedge is a hidden gem. I will always say this. I've compared this to other wedges in the past, TaylorMade MG3, Callaway Jaws Raw, and it does keep up with it. The only problem is it's not very customizable, so there's absolutely no way I could put it in my bag, because at 6'4", I need it 1/2 inch to 1 inch longer, a few degrees upright, this, and also a certain grind. This is not that at all, and it would really, really suffer in certain weather conditions. This is multifunctional. You can use this, as I've said before, in Dubai, in the horrible weather in England. It really is an incredible wedge. Do I think it's worth $595? I don't think anything's worth $595 today for golf clubs, but it is an incredible looking wedge, and it's one wedge that you would be proud to have in your bag. So JP has done a very good job with this wedge. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what else he has to offer, because I know he specializes in wedges, but how far can he push this? How far can he push his knowledge for wedges? What else can be done? I'm excited to see what he has to offer in the next few years. If you've enjoyed this video today, guys, at the wonderful Gatwick Golf Studio, which I'll leave a link for in the description, please leave a like, and if you are new to GolfMagic, smash that subscribe button as well. Until the next video, guys, I'll catch you later.